All right. Thanks to the folks that have joined us on Facebook and on Zoom. And we're going to kick this one off today. So today is a info session on the vendor process, vendor application process at Lexington Market for the new market building that's currently under construction. I'm actually going to, oops, give me 1 second here. Share the correct document. There we go. So the session today is going to take you guys through the project, the opportunities in the new market, as well as the way in which you can apply in the selection process for the market. So there's 3 of us here for the session today, and we'll start with introductions, starting with Pickett.
Thanks a lot, Peter. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Pickett Slater Harrington. I serve as the Community Engagement Lead for the Transform Lexington Market project for Seawall. Lexington Market is owned by the city of Baltimore, and it's the right and responsibility of every citizen to create a vision for Lexington Market. A lot of my work involves working with the Seawall team and partners beyond that to actually make sure that residents in Baltimore have a chance to give feedback and to take part in the decision making when it comes to the vision of Lexington Market.
Thank you, Pickett. And my name is Peter DePrinzio. I'm also on the Seawall team, the lead for the food and beverage, both at Seawall as well as at Lexington Market in the Transform project. So my role is to work on the application selection process as well as the interior design and the vendor design of the stalls in the market, and to work with all of you and vendors that are selected into the process to make sure that they can successfully and smoothly open the stalls in the market in the new building. We've also been, brought a partner to the table in Baltimore Corps, and when we look around the city of Baltimore, we know that they're some of the leading thinkers on equity and inclusion and running a really great application process like this, along with selection and recruitment. And so we have Jennifer here today from the Baltimore Corps team. Could you introduce yourself and talk about your role a little bit?
Hi, I'm Jennifer Clark with Baltimore Corps. I'm the social innovation and I'm the Deputy Director of Social Innovation and Entrepreneurship. And at Baltimore Corps, we really work to help connect our community to opportunities that push innovation, equity, and racial justice in the workforce and social impact sector.
Awesome. Thank you, Jennifer. And so a quick agenda for today. We're going to do an overview of the project, of where the construction is today and what the plans are for the market, what opportunities there are for vendors of different types inside the market, what those stalls look like, what the floor plans look like. And then the last section will be the application process, as well as the support available for applicants in the process. And then we'll save some time at the end for question and answer. Feel free to use the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen. If you're on Zoom, you can click that Q&A button. You can enter questions in, and we will respond to them either via the chat in the Q&A, or we'll answer them live for everyone. So feel free to use them at any time, and we'll respond as we're able to. Just a quick note, we are recording the session today. Questions that you ask and the answers that we give are recorded as part of the session and will be uploaded to the transformlexington.com website, which has everything you could possibly want. Almost everything we're going to go over today and more is up there at www.transformlexington.com, as well as the video recording of this session will be up there. So with that, I'm going to, yes.
If you're in the Facebook Live, just feel free to put your question in the comment section and we'll read it and answer it as well.
Yes, thank you. That's a great note. And thanks. Welcome to those of you guys listening out on Facebook. So with that, I'm going to pass it off to Pickett to start the presentation.
Thanks a lot, Peter. I always start out by saying Lexington Market is the oldest continuously operating public market in the country. It's been around for 238 years. It's a community icon, and it's part of the very fabric of Baltimore. If you think about 238 years that the market has existed, that's 9 generations of Baltimoreans who have interacted with Lexington Market. If you were to walk down the street and ask a person that you bumped into in Baltimore, tell me a story about Lexington Market, chances are they have a story, and it's a personal story. That's how connected Lexington Market is to the community of Baltimore. Folks have stories about celebrating holidays, special days and events, or just going there on any given day to Lexington Market. The photo that you see in the top right corner is what the market looked like back in the day. If you can see the kind of shed design that's there, and you had different vendors who would kind of pull up right under the shed and sell their goods. Lots of activity, lots of vibrancy with the market. And what you see in the lower left-hand corner is an image of the inside of the market, the different type of vendors that are there. Public markets are about fresh food and access to fresh food, but it's also about connecting with individuals and with people there, and you see an image of that. I also said before, it's the right and responsibility of the citizens of Baltimore to develop a vision for Lexington Market. Lexington Market is owned by the city of Baltimore, and it's managed and operated by a nonprofit that's connected to the city of Baltimore. Peter, if you can go to the next slide. So the market has been around for 9 generations in Baltimore, and we're fortunate enough for our generation, we get to help with the transformation of Lexington Market to help shape what it's going to be like for the future. The city of Baltimore identified selected Seawall to help facilitate the transformation of Lexington Market. Seawall is a Baltimore-based developer that is really reimagining how real estate can unite communities and launch powerful ideas. And Seawall has partnered with Baltimore Corps to make sure that Lexington Market has the best of what Baltimore has to offer when it comes to vendors. If you take a look at the photo in the bottom left-hand corner, this is what the new Lexington Market will look like. Seawall was tasked with not only building a new building, but also helping to find vendors for the new Lexington Market. If you notice the design of the building, this new rendering, and harkens back to the old shed design that you had for Lexington Market, that street right in front is Utah Street. So the market will be located right next to where the old market is. Some of you might remember the surface parking lot that's right there on Lexington Market. That's where the new building will go. There has been a groundbreaking, so in February, it started construction on the new Lexington Market, and the market is slated to open early 2022. Something else I want to point out in our lower left-hand picture is a plaza that's right there by the market. So this beautiful outdoor plaza. You'll hear a little bit more about the building and the plaza and the use of this. But this is a new chapter for Lexington Market. And in order for this new chapter to be a success, we need all of you and all of your support. So not only in thinking about applying to be a vendor, but there are lots of other different ways you can connect to Lexington Market, whether it's helping to kind of capture and tell the history and culture of Lexington Market, or in other ways thinking through some of the support and community programming that goes in Lexington Market. This market is about several different things. First and foremost, it's about food access and getting people connected to fresh foods and everything that they need to be healthy. But it's also about community wealth generation. So when this building opens, it'll be one of the largest kind of small business incubators Baltimore has ever seen. And the market is also a community gathering place. So it's a place where folks can kind of come together and connect. Peter, if you can go to the next slide.
Thank you, Pickett. It's a great introduction, and I think it's important to address the COVID-19 pandemic that's going on, and we realize that this has meant really difficult times for small businesses, especially in food and beverage. We have a food hall that we manage with 10 small restaurants in it, called Our House up in North Baltimore, and we are on the front lines of this, so we get it. On the one hand, we're glad that the market is going to take another 18 to 24 months in order to be constructed and to finally open. So we hope that the need for social distancing will be somewhat reduced or eliminated by then, but we realize that there's some changes that we need to make sure that the market and the vendors within it can adapt and succeed as well. So some of those changes are to reduce the size of some of the seating areas, to make smaller, more numerous, sort of dispersed seating areas through the market. You'll see that in some later slides. We've added the option for some carryout windows on the plaza. You can see here on the bottom left what it might look like. Again, these are renderings. They're just kind of a draft, but having the option to serve directly to the outdoors, to have great outdoor seating on the plaza, which I'll mention again in a moment. And third, and probably most importantly, is ensuring that our small businesses, the small businesses within the new Lexington Market, can compete in the digital space as well, in addition to in the physical market, right? So to build out a robust digital infrastructure allowing the tenants in the market, whether they sell fresh food, whether they sell specialty things, they're a baker, or it's prepared food, to be able to sell online, to provide delivery options, to provide pickup and carryout options, and to do that with as little extra work as we can, so we can centralize all of that cost and set up into one place for a really great online infrastructure for the market. So those are just kind of the beginning steps. We know that it's going to be a process to figure out how the market and the vendors within it can be incredibly successful when they open, and for the next 240 years. So the plans for the market themselves, Pickett mentioned a little bit about the plaza, a little bit about the form of the building, but here we're getting a look at the inside of the building. So you can see here that the market is going to have an upper floor and a lower floor, okay? And the upper floor will meet the street at Paca Street. The lower floor will meet the street at Utah Street. And there'll be a grand staircase connecting the two with integrated seating, kind of like Baltimore's biggest stoop, as you can see here. There, of course, will be an elevator, 2 elevators connecting them as well for handicapped access and for back of house vendor access in to the basement as well. And roughly the fresh food will be mostly on the lower floor. The prepared and specialty food will be mostly on the upper floor. Specialty food being things like coffee and cakes and jams and jellies, cheese, bakeries. That's kind of the specialty food, whereas prepared food, those are stalls with proper hoods, cooking hoods in their spaces. So there will ultimately be a blend of those two things. There'll be seating both on the upper floor and seating on the lower floor, but the lower floor will be more like groceries, and the upper floor will be more focused on prepared foods. And we talked a little bit about the plaza, right? But they're in between the space between the new building, which you can see on the rendering on the right, and the old building, which would be behind you in this rendering, will be this grand open plaza space. We imagine lots of different uses for it. We've heard from community all the great ideas that you all have from public events, whether it's music, whether it's putting an ice skating rink there in the winter, a farmer's market. These are all things that we hear that folks want to see at Lexington Market, and that we're building the space right next to the market to provide. It'll be a really nice green space and connector between the downtown and the transit options downtown to the University of Maryland over in the west side of Baltimore on the other side. And so we're looking forward to this as a plaza for events, as well as an important connector green space as well. I'll pass it off here to Pickett to talk about public safety and health.
Thanks a lot, Peter. As I said before, we're talking and listening deeply to community to get their vision of what they want Lexington Market to be. And as we talk with community and we listen to community, one of the things that we've heard clearly that if Lexington Market is going to be successful, then the area around Lexington Market also has to thrive and be successful. They're interconnected. And one of the things that we want to do is make sure that Lexington Market is a safe, welcoming, family-friendly destination for all Baltimoreans to visit, shop, play, and connect. And in order to do that, we've partnered with several organizations and several communities to actually address some of the safety challenges around Lexington Market. So we're working closely with the Market Center Post 114 Coalition, which is a partnership of government, private sector, community representatives, and nonprofit entities to think through kind of some focus areas when it comes to safety and health in Lexington Market and around. One is around streetscape and cleanliness, thinking about the infrastructure. So making sure the sidewalks are in good repair, making sure that it's clean, there's no litter there, the tree wells are in great shape. So just thinking about the appearance and working not only with city, but also with other partners to make sure the appearance and cleanliness is what you need it to be. We've also heard over and over again that you have to address the issues that come from illegal drug dealing and substance abuse addiction. But you have to do it in a way where it helps to support community and support individuals. And so we've developed a set of principles of how we do that work. So it's not just about being effective in what we do, but how we do it too really matters. And then finally, you have to support the surrounding businesses. People tell the story all the time of coming to Lexington Market, not only for food access and to shop there, but to attend the other shops. And so if that Lexington Market is going to be successful, the businesses around Lexington Market also have to be successful. We're working with Post 114 Coalition to develop strategies as well as metrics to how we make sure we're creating a safe, welcoming, family-friendly destination. You can find out more information about the strategies and the metrics and see the actual work plan by visiting transformlexington.com on the homepage if you go to Public Safety and Health section. Peter?
Pickett, I've got a question that's come in around this, and I'm going to read it out loud. Hopefully you could answer it
Great.
the best you can. The question is, how does Lexington Market define its activities within broader regentrification efforts?
Yes, I'll try to answer that as well. And I've kind of said this before. Lexington Market belongs to the city of Baltimore, right? It's owned by the city. It's the right and responsibility of residents to create a vision for Lexington Market. So this isn't a seawall project. This isn't a Baltimore project. This is a city, this isn't a Baltimore Corps project. It's a city of Baltimore project. And so one of the things that we took a lot of time and effort is to make sure not only are we listening to residents and getting their feedback, but we're putting them at the center of decision-making. And that's the key. You have to put residents at the center of decision-making. And we're doing that in every aspect. So even as you think about the public safety and health piece, we have, we're working with the Post 114 Coalition, which is comprised of community representatives and community members, partner organizations and nonprofits that are part of that decision-making process of how you go about this, because the process is just as important as the product. When it comes to vendor selection, you guys will hear this in a little bit. We have vendor selection principles, and those principles come directly from community, from what we've heard. We're also going to be working closely with community to select the vendors. So Seawall isn't selecting the vendors, Baltimore Corps isn't selecting the vendors. The community will work together to select the vendors for Lexington Market. So we're thinking about how do you incorporate all that feedback as well as decision-making power into the hands of residents, of community members, in order that everybody benefits from what happens at Lexington Market. that it's not just one entity or one person or one organization, but the community should benefit. The other thing I'll highlight, I said this before, Lexington Market is about community wealth generation. If you think about those small businesses and entrepreneurs that will be in Lexington Market, not only do they make for a great market, but they should also receive the benefit of wealth creation by owning a business. And when we talk about the principles, we'll lay out how you become more equitable and how you think about who has access to Lexington Market and to the opportunity that it provides. So hopefully that answers your question. It is a community project. We put community at the center, and the community is helping to guide and direct the project. I will give a broad timeline so folks can understand how all the pieces fit together. Construction on the new market actually began in February. And if you look at this, we started the application to be a vendor in Lexington Market. It launched last week, and that deadline is October the 2nd. There will be a second round, and this is also came out of our conversations with community. They not only wanted to have one chance for folks to apply, but two chances in case folks didn't hear about it. But also in case you apply the first round, you don't get in, you can take our feedback and what we provide and apply in the second round. So it's an issue of equity. So you'll have round one where folks are selected, and then you have an exact replica of that round that'll take place in early January of 2021. After vendors are selected by community, by a selection committee, then those selected vendors go into stall design and construction around mid to the end of 2021, and a new market opens 2022. So I referenced this earlier, but I really want to bring this point home, because Lexington Market is owned by the city of Baltimore. So it's not only serves as a place for food access where people get fresh food, but it also serves as community wealth generation. We mentioned the small businesses and their impact, not only Lexington Market, but hopefully them as well. And then it's a connection place where people connect. So as we listen to community about what they wanted Lexington Market to be, a set of principles evolved from that feedback. The first is that Lexington Market will increase the variety of fresh and prepared foods. So something folks said clearly is we want more options in Lexington Market. We want more options for fresh food and prepared food, but you got to keep it affordable. And so that's one of the core principles of Lexington Market, is figuring out how do we do affordability so people of different socioeconomic statuses can actually come to the market and enjoy it. So we have a variety of different price points. One of the things that we have embedded in the market is the acceptance of SNAP, EBT. Will be there for kind of fresh food vendors in the market. So that's the core principle. The second principle that we have that we've heard over and over from community is that Lexington Market has to better reflect the diversity of the city of Baltimore, which means increasing the number of Black-owned, women-owned, and city resident-owned businesses. It's a core key principle when we think about creating a vendor mix in Lexington Market. And then the third piece, Lexington Market is a part of Baltimore. It's the fabric of Baltimore. It's what makes it unique. We have to make sure we're bringing Baltimore food culture and Maryland's food culture. You should be able to walk into Lexington Market and it feels like Baltimore. It has the offering of the best of what Baltimore is. So these are the principles that guide every decision, and it's the principles that are at the core of what the community wants this market to be. Peter?
Thank you, Pickett. And from there, we'll move into the part of the presentation that's a little bit more technical, a little bit more focused on the specific stalls, the specific opportunities at Lexington Market. Once again, feel free to post questions in the Facebook live chat as well as in the Q&A feature of Zoom. And All of this as well as on transformlexington.com as well. You can go into a little bit more detail. As we talked about, it's important for Lexington Market as a public market to be a place of food access. And that means not just having prepared food or being like a food hall, but having fresh food, having specialty food vendors, folks that make cheeses, candies, nuts, coffee, right, and sell those kinds of items, as well as having the prepared food, and to have a good variety and affordability through all of these options. The fourth category you see here are kiosks. These have been around at Lexington Market for as long as the market's been around, right? Similar to the day carts of old or the kiosks that have been there in the atrium for the past stretch of years. We'll have these pre-built, small size stalls available for a short or medium term rental. They really don't have cooking hoods, but they have space to display wares and sell items, whether it's retail items, specialty food items, in these kiosks. And this is probably the lowest capital intensive way to be in Lexington Market. We aren't accepting applications for the kiosk just yet. We'll do that about 6 months before the market opens. But for the other stalls, fresh food, prepared food, and specialty food, we'll talk through the application process for those stalls in a moment. And from here, we're going to look at the layout of the market itself. So what you're looking at is a floor plan of the upper market. So this is has an entrance off of Paca Street, a big central entrance. There is, of course, one off of Utah as well, down on the lower level. And then as you can see at the top of the plan, there's 3 different doors that go out onto the plaza, allow for folks to go out there for outdoor seating, come back in and out from events or from just anything going on up on the plaza. And then inside you can see the green stalls. Those are the prepared food stalls. They're mostly around the outside, so we keep all the mechanical and the vet hoods in one area. Those green stalls have cooking hoods. So if you're looking to cook hot food, you need to apply for a prepared food stall with one of those cooking hoods. The red stalls out in the center, those are for specialty in specialty retail stalls. They have sinks, but they don't have cooking hoods. And then the kiosk spaces you can see outlined in orange. Down at the bottom of the plan, on the opposite side of the plaza, you can see the loading and trash and delivery areas. So this is where we'll have washout for dirty stuff from the stall, mats and other things. We'll have the trash receptacles, the large compactors where the trash gets taken away, as well as a handful of spaces for trucks to come load and deliver to the market. Access both to the upper floor as well as to the lower floor. And then on the right-hand side of the plan, you can see the community room. This is the new version of the Lexington room from the current market, if you're familiar with that. It's a multi-purpose room. So this could be overflow seating on a day that the market's very busy. It could hold a craft market, a holiday market that's open to the public. It has glass garage doors that open up to open the space to the market floor itself. And it also has the ability to be closed down and hold a private event, to hold a health fair, to hold whatever types of events, public or private, that the community would like to see. That's what this room is for. And it even has a little bit of outdoor patio space as well. On the next slide, you can see here, this is the lower floor of the market. And so the staircase that starts up in the upper floor continues down to the lower floor, connecting those two. On the bottom side of the plan, there's the elevator as well for circulation, folks that can't use the stairs or would prefer to use an elevator. And you can see the entrance off of Utah Street here. The majority of the stalls down here are fresh food stalls. As I mentioned earlier, this will be where most of the grocery and fresh food options will be concentrated. So customers will have a really nice grocery experience, being able to see all the different options available for them. You can see the 3 stalls around the outside. Around the outside, the largest yellow stalls are larger fresh food stalls that could be a larger grocery tenant. It could be a larger butcher, a larger fish tenant. a tenant that might need a little bit more space, the ability to have a walk-in box within their space. And then there's also some smaller ones, more affordable, and out more in the middle, also for fresh food as well. And on the left-hand side of the plan, you can see the basement and storage area. There are dry storage spaces. There are some cold storage spaces as well, enough for each tenant to have at least one storage space down in this basement area. And you can see as well access to the bathrooms, public bathrooms as well, is from this lower floor. I want to answer a couple questions that have come in. One of which are very good. One is, do we apply for a specific stall or will they be assigned? The answer is that you don't need to apply for a specific stall, but we will have a conversation about what type of stall that you need based on your cooking or vending operation at a later stage of application. So when we'll do interviews with applicants that make it to this interview stage, and we'll discuss what your needs are for that stall, and we'll make sure that you get a stall that works for you. It may be not your first choice, but we'll make sure that we find something that works. The second
and Peter,
question
I also want to add.
Yeah.
I also want to add to that as well. You have a copy of the different types of kind of floor plans of stalls on the website, as well as kind of what comes with those stalls, just to give folks a sense and an idea of that. Is that correct?
That's correct. So if you're looking to get into more detail on the specific size and dimensions of the various stalls, if you go onto the website, you'll see these plans with these colors, and just below that, you'll see the stall layouts, and you can click into the category of your business under those stall layouts, and it will show you some sample layouts of kitchens or fresh food stalls there, as well as the exact dimensions shown on the plan. And to Pickett's point as well, about there's also some information about what you receive, like what condition the stall is when you receive it and how the design and construction works. So I'm going to address that real briefly. The stall is constructed with walls and floors and lights and all the utilities that you would need, so electric, water, and gas, there in the stall, to basically be a shell. And if you're in a prepared food stall, we're also providing sinks, and we're providing cooking hoods. In specialty food and fresh stalls, we're providing sinks as well. And from there, there's an allowance that is that's meant to cover the finishes in the stall. So anything that's attached in the stall. So that would be wall finishes, paint, tile, countertops, signage, everything fixed into the stall. We have an allowance that within the budget is meant to cover those items. And then above and beyond that, the kitchen equipment and display equipment and smallwares and inventory that you would need in the stall as a tenant to open, that's the responsibility of the tenant. So all of that's available in more detail on the website, transformlexington.com. But that's a quick overview. So everything that's fixed is covered within the budget and the allowance, and everything that's movable is the responsibility of the tenant. We'll talk a little bit in a moment about capital support to help so that we can, the ways in which we want to help the tenants that are selected through the process of finding the capital that they need, because we don't want to turn people away because they can't find the right source of capital. We know that that's a barrier to entry for a market like this. Even if you're not opening a massive restaurant, you're opening a stall in the market, there still is an amount of money that you'll need to bring to the table. And we want to help connect all of you to the folks in the city that are doing that, that are providing capital to tenants like the folks in Lexington Market. There's one more question that I want to answer. which is if a kiosk application has been submitted already, will they remain on record for submission once you begin accepting them? Absolutely. If you've submitted something already and you're more interested in a kiosk, we will certainly keep that interest. And if you're interested and you're not submitting an application, feel free to reach out to us through the contact on the transformlexington.com, and we'll keep that interest until the time is until closer to the project opens, and then we will begin that process of selecting folks for kiosks.
And Peter, I'll add to the kiosk too. Yeah, I'll add to the kiosk piece because I think this is so important. We've been thinking about how do you create an equitable application process, and we've been designing it kind of throughout recruitment, throughout how we support, vendors who apply, to having equity in the selection process and how we select on through access to capital. And one of the key components is the offering of kiosks. So even if you're not able to apply or feel like you're ready to have a full vendor stall in Lexington Market, the kiosk offers a great opportunity. If you're making a really great kind of product, but you're not, interested in opening a full-on stall, that creates an opportunity there. And Peter, I think at this point there are at least 10 kiosks that are available in the space as well. So I encourage folks, you want to go ahead and apply because there's so much opportunity here, not only the possibility of being a vendor, but within the kiosk as well.
Absolutely. Thanks for that. And before we move to the application section, I just wanted to say thank you to Minnie Carter, who is an opera singer and would love to be part of the live entertainment at the market. Minnie, we'd love to have you if you will reach out to us through the Transform Lexington contact info through our website. We'd love to keep that top of mind as we get closer to opening. I think events in programming and music and driving some of these the features in the market with what we've heard from community over and over through the process is going to be really important because it is Baltimore's market. It's not our market. It's not just the tenants market. It's all of our market. So thanks for reaching out and letting us know.
And Manny, I think that email address is hello@transformlexington.com, but go to the website. I think that's the email address. Send us your contact information on that email address so we can kind of keep in contact.
Yes. And so here I will pass it off to Jennifer to talk through the application.
Okay. So this is the part you all have been really waiting for, right? The application. So here it is. I just want to emphasize that the application is open now. Application is open now. Go to transformlexington.com in order to start your application, complete your application, submit your application, apply now. Just give it a shot. And much to what everyone has spoken about earlier, we are working really hard in order to make sure that the market is reflective of Baltimore City. And with that being said, we want everyone to be able to apply and have access to this application. And it should be noted that the application is available online in English, Spanish, and Korean. The Spanish and Korean version can be downloaded and printed out. And if you need additional support, then feel free to reach out to someone through transformlexington.com. The deadline is October 2nd, so apply. The application is broken up into 4 sections. The first section is basic information, which is just like your name, address, that kind of thing. Next is the concept. The concept is, what are you doing? What is the thing that you are applying to Lexington Market for? Next is operations and marketing. And in that section, we want to know what is that thing that you're doing, and who do you need in order to make that thing happen? I.e., like, who are the workers you need to hire? Like Peter was saying, what are the non-movable things that you would need to have in your stall. And then the last section is finance. The finance piece is centered around like the budget, the cost, startup cost, cost for like the menu items. And with that piece, you can learn more about like Peter mentioned before, like if you feel like you have this like huge cost for startup, but like you don't have the capital behind it, I encourage you to attend our business finance workshop in order to learn more about the capital that Baltimore City, like different organizations that we're working with, are able to offer you in order to help with those costs.
Yes, and Jennifer, if I could add one thing, inside the operations and marketing section is a question about marketing your business as well, which is important. It's important that the vendors in the market both rely on the history and 238 years of Lexington Market to bring customers to the market, but also they can market themselves as well. And we have one question about that in the application. If you'd like to know more about best practices and how to think about marketing and branding your business, whether it's new, whether it's established, we have a session coming up on that tomorrow. And I'll let Jennifer talk more about it, but don't let this intimidate you, any of these sections of the application, because we have sessions and experts prepared to help out. Jennifer's going to get into those sessions, but there's a marketing session coming up tomorrow as well.
And you can find out that information on transformlexington.com to register. Do it. All right, so we're going to dive into the selection process. Applications are closing for this first round on October 2nd, 2020. So make sure that you have your application in by October 2nd. Then the first stage is for us to go through and review them. When I say us, I mean community. We have really reached out to the community and we'll continue to reach out to them in order to really help us with this process. Then we have the second stage, which is the individual interviews. They will come in, interview, and then ultimately the final decision will be made in December. Really, I think some of the things that the selection team is focusing on is like what makes your business stand out from other businesses. If you have any questions about things that you could do in order to make this happen or improve your business strategy, I definitely encourage you to attend our branding and marketing information session or workshop, which is tomorrow. There's also a workshop on like stall concepts for public market. We had one last week and we'll have one again on September 10th, but the recorded version of it is located on transformlexington.com. So you can go and review it. And if you have questions, you can attend one of those workshops and ask those questions. And we are really sticking to the selection principles in order to help with the selection process. It's really something that we're looking into. Yes. Next slide, please. All right, so we have support workshops because we want to ensure that everyone's application is successful. If you notice, all three of our workshops tie back into the sections within the application. So in the designing your business for public markets, it's really centered around what does it look like to build a unique public market stall? What does menu design for a market stall look like? What does grocery design for a market stall look like? And then finally, how to create focused and relatable product selection. It's really a piece of like discovering your niche. So if that's something that you're interested in, I encourage you to attend the live version on September 10th, but again, we do have it recorded, so you can do that as well. Next is the branding and marketing, which is tomorrow. I encourage you all to attend that workshop. And branding is really an opportunity for you to learn the difference between branding and marketing, and learn how to effectively and clearly target your message to your audience, and like what is making your product stand out from other products within the market. And finally is the business finance workshop. And so the business finance workshop is going to be broken into two different parts. The first part is going to be centered around like the accounting and budgeting piece. And the second piece is going to be centered around the finance and capital piece. And ultimately, we want you to learn what it looks like to prepare your personal finances to support your business, understanding cost and revenue calculations, and then raising funds and sources of capital. And those workshops are held on September 3rd and September 26th. If for whatever reason you cannot attend the live version of any of these workshops, please remember that they are all being recorded and can be found on our website, transformlexington.com. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Jennifer. Thank you, Pickett. We thank you to everyone who's tuned in for your time this afternoon. As a quick reminder, if you hadn't caught it so far, transformlexington.com is where we have all of this information that you've seen today. It's where we have the link to apply online. It's where we have all of the information on the stalls, on the floor plan layouts, on the responsibilities of Transform Lexington team, the responsibilities of selected tenants, as well as all of the support workshops, excellent support workshops with some really talented leaders that are happening over the course of the next 6 weeks, leading up to our application deadline on the 2nd of October. We are really looking forward to your applications. We have put a lot of thought, both ourselves on this team, as well as many folks that you don't see today at Baltimore Corps and at Seawall and at the Public Markets Corporation, into how we can do this best, how we can run a fair and equitable process that helps Baltimore fall in love with Lexington Market one more time for the next 238 years. So we'll pause here. Are there any final thoughts, Pickett or Jennifer, that you have before we open it up for any more questions?
Yeah, I just want to say it again, is apply. We tried to create a process that supports you throughout the application process. There's an opportunity to kind of not only kind of complete a really strong application, but also just make your existing business stronger. Or even if you don't have a business yet, it's going to help you kind of think through what are the elements that make for a great business. So by just applying and going to the support workshops, you're going to be better off than when you started. So I encourage you to apply. The deadline is October 2nd. If you don't apply this round, there will be a second round that will be identical. We encourage you to apply the first round so you can kind of learn and get feedback. And if you don't make it, you can apply again the second round. So just apply. Throw your hat in the ring.
Yes, just apply.
Couldn't agree more. So if you guys have questions, throw them in the Facebook chat, throw them in the Q&A section of Zoom if you're on Zoom. We're happy to stick around for a few more minutes to answer any questions that you all have.
And Peter, while we're waiting on folks to add to the add questions, a couple of things that I wanted to highlight is one is Lexington Market is really about the history and culture of Lexington Market, and we are working really hard to connect with the community to not only capture the history of Lexington Market, but also to kind of translate it and transfer it back to community through Lexington Market and beyond. So we'll be doing a lot of story capturing for folks, as well as figuring out creative and innovative ways of kind of sharing that story. So I wanted folks to be aware of that as they think about Lexington Market. And then the second thing that I wanted to highlight is that, Lexington Market is a community gathering place. And I know Miss Minnie mentioned like she would love to be part of like any events and activities that we plan. There will be lots of events and activities that take place at Lexington Market. Peter, I think you highlighted some of the areas and the grand staircase and stoop that will be inside the market as a place for events and activities, as well as the outdoor plaza as well that creates a kind of community and public space for events and activities. You know, Lexington Market will be a vibrant, thriving place to visit and a place to be and a place that welcomes community and invites community in. So those are two important aspects that I wanted to highlight as you think about vendors in the market. And you mentioned that 238-year kind of history. I think it comes with all of that as well. So this is a very special place, and you want to be part of this. You want to be part of this transformation, part of this movement.
It looks like we do have one question. Let me just read it here. The question is a gentleman who is interested in either being inside the market or potentially in a space in the area surrounding the market. That's a very good question. Of course, if you're interested in, if you want to try both paths, absolutely put your application in, reach out to us if you have questions about what the market needs, or if your concept is going to fit within a market stall, space-wise, operationally. We want to make sure that if it's not the right venue for the products you're trying to sell or the space that you need, that we don't counsel you the right way. If you're interested in being in a space outside of the market, there's a group that is a very close partner of ours called the Market Centers Merchant Association, MCMA. I'm gonna post in the chat to this, in the chat here, the link to their website. If you reach out to them, or if you reach out to us at hello@transformlexington.com, we can put you in touch with them. And they are really interested in businesses in the area surrounding Lexington Market on the west side of downtown. They know can help you find a suitable location for your business that's not inside Lexington Market necessarily, but just in the surrounding area. And so that's a great option too. If you reach out to us again at hello@transformlexington.com, we'll put you in touch with the Market Center Merchants Association to explore those options as well.
And Peter, I'll add to the, you definitely want to reach out to the Market Center Merchants Association. They do a great job in supporting surrounding businesses around Lexington Market in that area. And they've started cataloging spaces that are available for folks who are interested like you. And they've also started putting together resources to support small businesses surrounding Lexington Market. I think the latest resource I heard was they have a facade improvement program. So if anybody kind of has a space currently or wants to get a space, I think the program will match up to almost like 80% of the cost of kind of, fixing up. So they're thinking deeply about how they support small businesses. So you want to reach out to Market Center Merchants Association.
Yes, absolutely. All right, well, we'll give it another moment or two for any last questions that you might have. But I just want to thank everyone for taking the time to join the info session today. Again, more information on the website, transformlexington.com. Reach out to us with any other questions that you have. But on behalf of Seawall, on behalf of Baltimore Corps, thank you all for joining today. And we look forward to reading your applications, and we look forward for you all to be a part of this new chapter of Lexington Market in one way or another, whether that's as a vendor, whether that's sharing your thoughts, participating online, or just joining us for opening day. We can't wait. So thank you all.